All right, so have Sebastian and Sylvie here with me. Just closed on your business. We got it sold. And how's that feel?
Relieved.
Weird.
Relieved and weird. Those are
Yeah, it's
two,
a weird feeling,
right?
that you've been carrying that and have all this responsibility, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, no, you don't.
That's funny. Yeah, you're getting seller's remorse. It's like your child's going off into the sunset, going off to college, and now you got the empty nest feeling, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Um,
It's also,
so
I mean, it's also exciting.
right. So explain that a little bit. It's exciting in the fact that
It's exciting that, I'm thinking like, well, what's going to happen to this now? Like, where are they going to take it? How
right,
what it's a new set of thinking heads for the
right.
business, and so that could mean a lot of new developments, a lot of different things, and just to watch that, I think from afar is kind of exciting.
Yeah, kind of exciting to see what their new vision plans out to be for the business. So I can see that. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the day of closing. Um, the day of closing actually occurred on Friday the 13th. And then we had a holiday on Monday, so you actually didn't get paid until Tuesday. And then I sent you a text and said, money should be in your account, please check it. And then Sylvia, you responded, and Sebastian did check it and called me. I'm sitting here crying and shaking. Um, share that experience.
Even though the closing was on Friday, it didn't feel like it was on Friday because we didn't really hear anything.
Right,
Since some of the signing was after hours and everything, and then you go into the weekend, um, you don't hear a thing from anybody. Then there's one of these fake holidays that are only for banks and civil servants. So it didn't feel real. Even Tuesday morning, Sebastian and I were on the phone and we're like, have you heard anything? Is it done? What's going on? Well, we just keep waiting a little bit, and then all of a sudden he called me back and he said, yeah, it's done.
there you go. Yeah, it's exciting to see that when the funds hit the bank account. Um, so let's talk about the timing. Sebastian and I started talking in September 2020, and you guys didn't sign a listing agreement with me until June 2022. And during that time, I was like a jilted broker. You guys actually signed with, I think, one or two other firms. Sebastian, you had shared some of that story. Can you share some of that? You went with one or two other brokers.
Yes. Everyone overpromised and underdelivered.
Everyone, including me?
No, those two.
Okay.
Um,
Was
they
it two? Wasn't it
specialized.
more than two?
I I don't even know. Apparently, they specialized in Amazon FBA businesses, but yeah, they weren't able to get it done. Disappointing. Yep.
Yeah, and I think they mainly focused on trying to sell your business to aggregators, right? To FBA
Correct.
aggregators.
Yes, but then the whole aggregator business model kind of fell apart in, when was it? 22, 21?
Right.
I mean, with the pandemic, they all got money like crazy because everyone was buying online. But then after we went back to normal, they figured we don't need that anymore. People are
Right.
going back into the stores, and then all of a sudden, one aggregator after another fell down, went out of business, and yeah, we should have we should have gone with you guys in the first place.
I appreciate that. Um, and you had it under contract with them at one point, or no, with those other brokers?
We had a letter of intent from
We
one
never
of,
made it past the due diligence phase.
yeah,
Okay.
Once they figured out that that there's actual work to be done in this business, not just I buy this and then I sit back and watch it create revenue. it just kind of fizzled.
Right. And just so you two know, that is a common misconception that we get as brokers. I've had listings where basically, the seller's just managing the business, kind of similar to you guys. So there are weeks and times where you don't have 40, 50 hours dedicated to business. And we get that a lot with buyers. They're looking for something that you can make 6-figure income, only working 4 to 5 hours a week. And I'm sorry, that just doesn't happen when you own a business.
No.
And I have to walk that back when somebody calls and goes, "Oh, I see the seller's only spending 10 hours a week." And it's like, yeah, probably not really true. And I always try to take those statements out. But yeah, I don't ever want to sell somebody and you can basically be semi-retired and making a 6-figure income operating a business. It just doesn't happen.
No.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sebastian, the offer that you guys accepted on that from that one buyer was about half or less than half of what we ended up selling the business for, right?
That is correct, yeah. So they initially offered more, but then they came back and re-evaluated the business. And then they only wanted to purchase 51%. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, those reevaluations during the due diligence process are never fun. We kind of got to go through that. I don't think this time the reevaluation process was as painful as that one though.
No.
So let's talk about the timelines. You finally signed with me June 22 with a listing agreement. Then we signed the LOI on August 12th. And believe it or not, we closed on Friday the 13th, 5 months later. And how did you feel during that whole process? We went from LOI, due diligence. Was there ever a period of time where you thought, okay, this is not going to close?
Several times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the LOI is just a piece of paper that it's not the way I understand it, it's not a real contract. It's just, okay, we're interested. But that doesn't mean anything for me as a seller.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a informal terms agreement. So hey, here's what we're thinking. Now let's get into due
once it's over. And that was Friday the 13th.
It was, from my perspective, it was very long and a very long time of just feeling like we were hanging in midair. Not even so that I was scared that this was not going to happen. We had already been through the process of nothing happening and just empty promises. So I'm not one to celebrate before the ink is dry. But just like, okay, we've been through this process. It entails a lot of work. It's a lot of handing over documents, gathering documents. It's kind of like squirreling, I would call it. It's extra next to what you do on a day-to-day basis. And then there's a certain timeline for this, but at the same time, and now these people came in as what I would call is a passion buy. It's not I just want a business, any kind of business where I can just sit back and relax and just watch it grow. They are passionate about this. So this was very, very different. And I thought, this one, we're going to make this work. But it took long, and there were so many obstacles. A lot of them, I think, were unnecessary and were dragged out. And it kind of was, I was always scared that it would hurt the business, because it's a moving train. It just needs to keep going. I cannot wait for what you guys are doing there. You gotta, come on, let's do this. So the that part was that was not fun, not for me.
Right. Yeah, there's some things that we have discussed that I think what a lot of buyers and sellers don't do, and that's use the broker and the broker's experience. And we have talked about that. I think this buyer group could have been more interactive and communicative with me with what they're thinking, and letting me facilitate some of those changes that happened, instead of just kind of like the bull in the china shop. Sometimes is the approach, and then they would back off after that change, and then here comes another bull in the china shop episode. Yeah, definitely. I've always felt like that. The more you use your broker, the more you can find your broker, the better the transaction's going to go. Which, speaking of which, what could I have done differently? constructive feedback, positive, negative. What could I have done differently in your opinion?
You were actually absolutely amazing, and coming from a German, it's not just a cloud of nothing. We couldn't have done this without you. You were very, very different from the other brokers that we dealt with, and it felt safe. The other ones I was absolutely not happy with. It was more like you were just a number. You were just it was very neutral, very not personal. You weren't a human being anymore. And in this, how this went, you have a very good understanding of, well, this is a small business, and this is what's going in. This is our sweat, blood, and tears. It's a plant that we grew. We planted a seed, we grew it, our heart is attached to this. And you understand this, and you got us, you got us through the whole process and really guided us without being condescending. That's what happened with the others too. Or patronizing. So it was for me at least, it was an all-around positive experience.
That's awesome. Sebastian, anything you want to add to that? Any constructive feedback?
Same here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So if you were going to give advice to other business owners or sellers and selling their business, what would that be? What would you throw out there? Say, here's my advice if you're thinking about selling your business.
First of all, you got to go with a broker, because I don't think you can do it without a broker. That's just because people are too attached to their business, and sometimes it's like selling your house without a real estate agent. You might save money, but the real estate agent is just worth the money. Because you might think the house is worth way more than it is actually, and then it sits on the market, and it's the same with the business. If it sits too long, it loses value.
Awesome. That's good feedback. Sophie?
Yeah, you can't be too emotionally attached to what you've done. This is a mathematical equation, not an emotional equation. So if you want to do it on your own, you're bound to get your feelings hurt. But this process is business. It's not about feelings. It's very fact-based, and we don't know enough. I think no buyer who wants to sell their business knows enough of all the documents and everything you need to bring by and how this entire process works, because we're not trained in that. That's not what we do. And it's better to have an expert for that. That's why there are experts out there. And I think everybody would just be better off if they hire somebody who knows what they're doing.
Awesome.
And
that's good feedback.
go through the process and be successful.
Absolutely. And yeah, basically I just wanted to get some feedback from you on that. Anything else that you two would want to add, or you want to let business sellers put the information out there that business sellers should be thinking about when they're selling their business? Anything else?
Go with website closers.
Oh, there's a good one. That was not prompted. That was not prompted.
I'm not paid.
But thank you. Anything else?
People should be prepared that it's a lot of work, and should probably look at their records and their whole business and see if it's organized enough, and if they can it's not a huge mess that they're handing over, because then it won't work.
Right.
And it takes time.
Yeah. Ironically, you said a lot of work. So one of the number one questions we get from sellers when we first start talking was, how long does this process take? And that process can vary depending on, number one, how aggressive are you in pricing the business? But I don't think I've come across a seller who has gone through what you guys have gone through. I mean, you listed with somebody in 2020, didn't sell through 2023. That might be the longest one that I've heard about. But it wasn't one of the longest ones. It's kind of funny, when we closed and it was like a 5-month LOI to contract to closing. That's not my longest. My longest was actually a couple of months longer. But to see this almost a 3-year process with you guys, That's interesting. Most of the times it's 90 to 180 days it's done, and you move on. Speaking of moving on, what's next for you, Sebastian?
I don't know yet.
You don't know.
No,
Gonna go spend the money in the bank account, take a trip to
going to Vegas.
oh, that may end up badly. And
No.
Sylvie, I know you already started kind of going in a different career. What are you gonna do next?
Well, I've always I've done before. What I've done before is I did sports massage, and I kind of made that happen again. So I'm doing that already. I'm coaching a few people, and there is a chance that I may consult with the new owners. That is still up in the air. Other than that, I think I need about 2 months in a sanatorium right now, just to recover. And then we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you both for your time. I appreciate you guys jumping on a video and recording this. And like I said, we'll get this edited and send it over to you.